Well, hello there, friends. If you're enjoying these stories and want to see more, don't forget to follow our channel so you can catch this and future videos. Your support means a lot, so please subscribe, like and leave a comment. It really helps us keep going. The Parthenon in Athens was without a doubt an unmatched architectural achievement. You know, Athens went through a huge transformation in the 5th century BC. Back then it wasn't just one city, but actually a collection of about 140 towns and villages spread across Attica, all united around Athens itself. Each one played a role, especially when it came to military power. According to folks living at the time, no other city had ever been so densely populated. So who do we thank for this golden age? Mainly Pericles, one of the successors of Themistocles, who ended up becoming the leading figure of Athens. He had some pretty big plans for the city, you know. After the Persian Wars, the Greeks still feared a Persian comeback, so many of them joined forces with Athens to create a defensive alliance called the Delian League. Around 200 cities contributed money to this naval defense fund, and over time it became clear that Athens was turning into an empire. Pericles eventually convinced the allies that for everyone's safety, the League's treasury should be moved from Delos to Athens. That gave him the resources to launch a massive building program in 445 BC, centered on rebuilding the Acropolis. This is when construction began on the most famous temple in the world, the Parthenon. Pericles wanted it to be perfect, something that would show off Athens' pride and greatness. To the Greeks, the Parthenon became the most beautiful monument ever built, a showcase of art and craftsmanship. Athens controlled much of the eastern Mediterranean at this point, which meant they could hire the very best architects, sculptors and painters. The Parthenon, dedicated to Athena, was a giant project. It measured about 69.5 by 30.9 meters. The artistic design was overseen by Phidias, a brilliant sculptor and architect chosen personally by Pericles. The temple was surrounded by 46 massive columns, 8 across the front and 17 along each side, each about 10 meters tall. Inside stood Phidias's masterpiece, an enormous statue of Athena made of gold and ivory. What made the Parthenon so remarkable wasn't just its size, but its precision. The architects knew that if they built it with completely straight lines, it would actually look distorted to the human eye. So they introduced tiny corrections. The floor was slightly curved, the columns leaned inward a bit, and the corner columns were made thicker so they wouldn't appear thinner from a distance. The Greeks of the 5th century BC had mastered optics and perspective. In fact, the Parthenon's beauty comes from these subtle deviations, not from straight lines. The marble came from Mount Pentelicus, which was about 16 kilometers away. Huge blocks weighing between 2 and 5 tons were quarried and shaped there, then transported by oxen-drawn carts. It could take 5 to 7 hours just to haul one block to the Acropolis. Once they arrived, workers used ingenious cranes and pulley systems, Greek inventions of the time, to lift the stones into place. They even had mobile cranes on rollers, so they could shift these heavy loads across the site. Around 1,000 workers were employed on the project. Each column alone was made of 10 to 12 stone drums, fitted together with metal clamps. In total, 22,000 blocks of marble were used, weighing about 100,000 tons. Astonishingly, the Athenians managed to complete the temple itself in just 9 years, though the sculptural decoration took another 6. The Parthenon combined 2 Greek architectural styles, the sturdy, no-nonsense Doric order, columns without bases, plain capitals, and the more elegant Ionic order with slender columns that had bases and spiral capitals. This mix really reflected Athens' position between the Doric Peloponnesus and the Ionic Aegean world, politics expressed through architecture. The temple wasn't white as we see it today. In antiquity, it was brightly painted in red, blue, gold and white. Both inside and out, the sculptures and friezes would have stood out vividly. Above the frieze were the triangular pediments decorated with colourful sculptures. The east pediment showed the birth of Athena from Zeus's head, while the west pediment depicted Athena's contest with Poseidon over who would be the city's protector. Inside, Athenians could admire the massive 12-meter-high statue of Athena, clothed in gold and ivory, wearing a golden helmet. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Ivory for the skin, gold sheets for the clothing and ornaments. It was not only a religious symbol, but also a display of Athens' power and wealth. In short, the Parthenon wasn't just a temple. It was Athens' greatest statement to the world, a masterpiece of architecture, engineering and art that still inspires awe today. Finally, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this journey through history. Don't forget to follow the channel for more stories and be sure to subscribe, like and comment. See you in the